Hey, it's time to make Lisa's wedding band. Welcome to Hack a Week. So, here we are making Lisa's wedding band. And if you watch the video where I made my wedding band, you'll remember that I made it in 3 pieces. There were 2 outer pieces that held a gold band in the center. These are the pieces I've made for Lisa's wedding band. They are 2 silver rings, and they are stepped down to accept a gold band in the middle. The gold band in the middle will be cast from some melted down gold jewelry that was her mom's and her grandmother's. And we need to make a mold for that before we can cast them. That mold will be made from one of these, a wax blank ring. So we'll do some features in the outside of this that will accept where the opals are going to go. There'll be 4 opals in this, and then the ring will go together like that, and we'll have a gold band where that wax one is now. So the first thing we need to do is get this wax blank all set to go to receive the opals. Here's the opals I'm going to use. It's these 4 right here. I've got 5 there. There's some other smaller ones here. I'm going to try to use these 4 and put them around the ring pretty much in that order. So if you were to spread out the ring in a flat line, there would be 4 indentations that will accept the opals. After a little bit of work here with a couple special tools I made, this little screwdriver, the curved tip on it, and I sharpened it up, and I've been using it to pull the wax out. Just carving it by hand here where the opal is going to go. And I've got one done. It's taken me about maybe 30 or 40 minutes to do that one. But when I drop the opal in there, you can see it fits really, really nice. 3 more to go. So just cleaning up the 4 little recessed holes I made for the opals. They came out pretty darn okay. There's 4 of them all the way around. So now we will take this to my jeweler friend and we'll make a mold, an investment mold, and we'll cast this up in gold. So yeah, I had that wax ring with the little indentations in it all built, and then I came out here to pick it up, and I picked it up kind of wrong, and well, there's what's left of it. Probably shouldn't have picked it up that way. Here's what I did. I picked it up like this, and it didn't take much. I just barely picked it up, squeezed a little, and it just shattered. And it's because of all the really thin spots where I carved out those holes. There's not much integrity, so should have picked it up like that. So after about another hour and a half of time, I've got a second one here, and it's ready to go now and be cast in a mold. And I will be handling this one very, very carefully. Now that we have this wax original ready to go, we're going to do a mold on it. So here's the deal on that. If I wanted to keep this design and repeat it over and over, what I would do is I would make a silicone mold of this. So I would mold it in a mold that would come out basically in 2 halves. It would be something that would look like this. If we drew it out, it would be just a block of silicone, and then it would have a seam like this all the way around. It would split in half, and if we could look inside, we'd see that there would be a piece in there that would look like basically the indentation of a ring, and those 2 pieces would go together. Now, of course, that's the bottom half of the mold for the silicone. There would be another half on top, and you would inject the wax into this through the sprue, which would be a little tab attached right there, and then you could make another wax original from this silicone mold. So if we were going to repeat this a whole lot, that's what we would do. We'd make a silicone mold, and we could archive that away and be able to repeat it all we want. What I'm going to do with this, it's just a one-time shot. So I'm going to make a plaster mold. It's called an investment casting. Investment means that you are making an investment in the original and in the mold that is going to be used to pour the molten metal into. So what we'll do is we'll take this ring, let's just say this is a side view of the ring, and we're going to put a sprue on it. A sprue is a place where you can pour in the molten metal. So this will then become part of the ring. So here's the ring and its thickness, like so, and anyway, that's all the green wax. We'll just fill in that. This is all solid as well. And then what will happen is a mold will be made around this of plaster, okay? And so we'll just pour the plaster in there and we'll let the sprue stick out the top. And then what will happen is the plaster will cure. We'll put the whole works into an oven and cook it for a while. And what will happen is we'll cook out all of the wax. All the wax will go away, and what we'll end up with will be a mold of the ring. And when we pour in the molten metal, it will go in there and it will fill all that space back in. And then when it cools down, we break away the mold. That's why it's called an investment, because each time you're investing in making the mold because it's going to get thrown away. The nice part about doing it this way, there's no halves to it, so there's not going to be any lines on it when it comes out. It's going to be just a nice clean piece. So that's what we're going to do next. And we're going to take this over to my friend at the jeweler shop, and he's going to help out. So let's pack everything up and head over there. We're checking this stuff that I brought in to see what's gold and what's not. So what is it you're doing on this piece?
I'm marking these. This is gold. These are the in this order.
You can tell by the look of that, or?
No, we're going to see in a minute.
Oh, I see. You're going to do putting a sample there. What's going to happen if it is?
Nope. It's all going away about the same.
Oh, okay.
So it's all 14 karat or thereabouts.
I see. So if it wasn't, it would, what would it
Just
do?
go away.
Disappear real quick. Okay.
See, like this one? Let's do this.
It just looks different on there too. Gone.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So all this is good.
Well, this is what we determined is gold that we can use. And about a half an ounce of 14 karat gold. Plenty for that ring.
Right.
Safety goggles. Keep my eyeballs from going blind. Where's yours? You got your glasses.
You're going to be melting.
Ah. You have to do the melt part, huh?
Yeah. I'm just going to get you started. Once it starts melting, you're going to put a little flux on there. And then you're going to take this and just kind of stir it up so you know that it's all melted together. You want to make sure it gets melted together. And then you just pick it up and keep the torch on it, like this. And then I would slowly just pour it in there. Otherwise, it'll glob all up.
Okay.
So you want to just slowly kind of move it around. It works better if you have something a lot deeper. This is what we have sitting here.
So, from what heights does that matter much?
Hold on, I got something better.
Okay. Okay, so it all goes in the crucible, and we're gonna heat it. And we're gonna add some borax flux. Stir it around, and then we're gonna pour it into that pot.
So now this is about as hot as I can get it. You don't want to get it too hot. And then you just keep it moving.
Yeah.
So stuff coming on the surface, try to give it some flux. Take it with that, and just make sure everything's make it just a little more fluid. You're going to make sure everything, there's nothing, every now and then there might be a little, like a spring or something that got left in there. Right? Just dip it with little by little. Get it off.
That's hot.
Yep.
Take a look at what we got.
That's cool.
There it is. What was jewelry's now lumps. Funny, it looks the same as when you're making fudge and you throw it into the water.
Mm-hmm.
To see if it's at the right stage. These pieces that we dropped in the water could actually be turned into a nice little piece of jewelry, just like that. You could put a pearl in there and put a ring on it, put it on a necklace. You could make earrings. Pretty interesting looking pieces. These are destined to be a ring, at least some of it. Here's the wax with the sprues added to it. Those are little pieces of wax that have been melted onto it, and they will serve as little conduits for the gold to flow into that area where the ring is. Now this will get cast next in a special plaster mold, and then that will be heated up and the wax will be burnt out, and then we can cast it. Well, that's just Play-Doh.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going to mount the wax in.
Ready for plaster.
All right. So we're here in the basement of the jewelry store, and behind me here in this kiln is the plaster cast that had the wax original in it. The wax is all burned out now. It's been in there for quite a few hours, and it's time to pull it out now and do the casting. So there it is in there, nice and toasty. What's it up to? It was up to over 1,000, 1,200.
Yeah, it was
It gets pretty hot, so it's going to stay nice and warm. We'll keep it in there. And then over here is where everything gets cast. This is like a centrifuge. It's wound up right now. It's under spring tension. And in here, in the crucible, is where those gold nuggets will go. We'll melt those down, and then the mold, or the casting, what do you call that?
Flask.
The flask, yeah, the flask goes right here. And then release the lever. Once everything's molten, and it all slings into the flask and gets cast.
And how hot is that?
I forgot what gold melts at now. 1,700?
So you're getting that one little piece.
Little borax. Acts like a flux.
Looks like it connects it all together.
Helps keep it from oxidizing on the surface too. Let her rip. And the centrifugal force slings all the molten metal into the flask.
Is this that simple?
That's fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating. It's science!
It's awesome science.
Check it out, girls. Jewelry is science. You have something you want to take away metal, you just like put this a wheel like this on there.
And that's that.
There it is.
Ta-da.
Now we'll let this cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you break it open now, it's still really hot.
Yeah, you don't want to,
And
you'll get,
mess with the shape.
well, the shape won't be messed up, but the surface might be.
Okay.
Okay, let's punch this. We get a shot in the bucket while it goes sizzle. It's gonna pop and sizzle. That kind of cracks it too, doesn't it?
Yeah,
The-
cracks
the,
the
the,
investment.
the plaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then if you take this and just kind of dig out.
Start poking at it.
Yeah.
It softens up. It's really soft compared to the plaster I've always worked with. Now, of course, I'm going to want to read up on
And get it back in the water.
this kind of plaster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can see the sprues. Remember what it looked like when it was wax? There they are, just like the way they look on the bench. And then we should have our little places here for the opals. Dig one of those out real quick. You can see right there. There's one, there's another one, there's another one, there's one there. Let's brush its teeth. Lovely.
Okay, it's all in one piece. Success.
Fantastic.
Ta-da.
Yay. Awesome.
Okay, back in the workshop. We're going to take this now and cut off all of this extra sprue material. And we're going to be left with just the ring portion. We'll just clamp this up in the vise here and start sawing these pieces off with the jeweler's saw. And there we go. It's free. Now we just need to clean up all these pieces where the sprue chunks are left behind. Now I can slide this up onto the ring mandrel here and use it to hold it in place for me while I clean up some of these edges. And we'll get this little section right here where that sprue on the bottom came in. I've got some 150 grit emery cloth here now. That looks pretty good now. Fairly even all the way around. It's a little bit out of round, So we'll put it on the ring mandrel and straighten that out a little bit, get it a little more into a curved shape again. So let's check the fit of the silver ring inside the gold ring. It's pretty close on that side, not too bad. Let's get the other half here and see what we've got with that one. That just about goes in too. So what I'll do next with this is take it back apart here. It's a little tight. I'll get after this with a Dremel sanding drum on the inside and get rid of a little bit of these imperfections that are in here. Alright, we've got a pretty good fit going here now. Now we're going to clean this up a little bit more and possibly end up with the gold portion a little bit narrower. I'm going to put a bit of a crown on it, like that. Get rid of those corners. And then we can check out the stones and see how they fit. Coming along after a little shaping with the file, I chamfered the edges a little bit. Kind of rounded it, and now I'm just going over it with some 220 grit paper to put an initial finish on it. I just let it sit between my fingers like this, and the natural radius that's created between my fingers will just help polish a radius into the ring. We're getting there. That's a pretty good start. I think I'll check how the stones fit now. Okay, now the trick is to decide which stone goes where. I did actually do them to a specific spot. I think this is the one that wants to be here. Wow, that actually drops right in. That's pretty friggin' amazing. Okay. So I'm going to put that aside right here. Let's check this one out. That is probably more like it. I think that's the one that goes there. Okay, so we'll put that one over here. Next in line. Let's try it the other way. These things are really light. They want to stick to the tweezers real easy. Yep, that's the one that goes there. Let's take that one out, put it here, and let's check out this last one. Funny thing I've noted when I'm working on this stuff, and when my friend Mark that helped do the casting, when you're doing delicate work and you're talking to someone at the same time, you tend to talk softer as if that's going to help you do the delicate work. It's kind of funny. That's it. They all fit. Great. So the only thing I need to do now is clean up these holes just a little bit. That one right there, just got a little bit of an imperfection right there. There's a little bit of a high spot down in the bottom, and I'd like to have that edge a little straighter. I think I've got a burr somewhere around here for the Dremel that'll be small enough to take care of that. Okay, what I really need is a really tiny burr. I've got a little ball burr right here, but I've also got this one, and the reason I'm going to try this one is because it has a nice straight edge and it's very, very pointy. So let's see if I can get that in there. Getting the final polishing done now before this gets put between the two silver rings. They will get soldered together. Once all that's done, and I do a little more cleanup and put it in the pickle to get all the oxidation off, then I can start mounting the stones. This is looking great. Okay, there we go. Nice fit. Nice and even all the way around. We're ready to do our thing here and solder this all up. First thing I need to do is put some yellow ochre on the back of this gold. In fact, on all of the gold. I don't want any solder to adhere to this gold. So I put the yellow ochre on there, and it keeps it from getting any solder on it at all. And then we're going to work on the inside here, apply the flame and some solder, and join these two together. Okay, yellow ochre on the back side of the ring. The yellow ochre is dry now, so let's slide that piece onto one ring half. We'll put the other ring half on, slide that in there, and squish them together. Let's take a final look at it, make sure everything is where I want it. Now I'll put a little bit more yellow ochre on the outside, just as a little extra good measure to make sure I don't get any solder at all on this piece of gold, because it would just really ruin the finish. Yellow ochre is dry. Now I'm going to join these together with some wire and just twist it up. A little different than I did my ring. This time I'm going to just put a couple of pieces right around the inner part of the ring instead of around the whole thing. Then it will not be in my way when I apply the heat to the inside and start to solder it up. And then I can just back these off and move them to the place where I already had it soldered. Okay, everything's held together really well, and what we'll do is we'll focus the heat in this area right here away from the wires, get that part soldered, flip it over, and then put some solder in there, and then we can get rid of these wires and do that section and that section. Of course, before we do any soldering, we're going to put some flux in there. I'm going to coat this on the inside with some flux. That will help with the oxidation on the surface from the heat. It'll also help the solder flow into the crack between the two halves. Here we go. It worked out pretty well. I actually just melted that wire right out of my way. A little bit of solder in there. Let's see if I can do the same thing on this side. Yep. And I can probably get the solder I put in up there at the top to flow right down to the bottom. Kind of keep this to a minimal amount of solder if I can. That's it. Do a little polishing on the inside now. Got it all cleaned up on the outside. More polishing. Polish, 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 polish. Lots of polishing. Now I'm going to take a round burr and I'm going to rough up the bottom of every one of these holes where the opals are going to go, just to give it something to bite on. I'm going to glue these in with a CA glue, cyanoacrylate glue, and it's got like the kind that's got the accelerator that you spray on it. You'll see. Time to get the opals in place. I've trial fit these already ahead of time. I have them lined up the way they go in, just so you can see how nicely they fit. That's a pretty good fit. So we're going to pop that back out, and I've got the holes cleaned out. And these are cultured opals. They can be sanded down a little if necessary, and then polished back up. So if they sit a little bit proud, it's not a terrible thing. This is what I'm going to use to put them in. This is some CA glue, cyanoacrylate glue. A lot of hobby people use it. Tiny little drop of it in here. And we'll set the stone in, and then we're going to spray it with some accelerator, which is this clear liquid that pretty much seals it off from oxygen. That's how cyanoacrylate glue works. It cures up in the absence of oxygen. So if we just drop that in there and let whatever amount of glue come out that wants to come out. And that will actually fill in the crack around the edge a little bit, which is not entirely a bad thing. We're going to just give that a good push down in there. This stuff, if I can get the pump to work. Great. Okay. Just a little spray of it, and it accelerates the whole process of the cure, and we can move on to the next one. And that looks good. It drops in there real nice. Take it back out. Well, this one has a little bit of a curve to it, and I may just try putting it in the other way. Let's flip it over. It's actually a little bit better fit that way. So that's what this is going to be all about. Just work my way around until all of these are glued in place. There we go. All 4 are in place. Now we just need to polish them up and get them flush with the surface, and make them look all pretty and shiny. Almost done. Polish, 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 polish. This is crocus cloth, 800. And then I'm going to go to some Jeweler's Rouge after this. It's shining up really nice. Now we'll get after it with a little Jeweler's Rouge and a buffing wheel, a little tiny buffing wheel. Get the inside first. Let's go for the outside now. I got a fresh wheel on here. A little bit of Jeweler's Rouge. And finally, we get after it with the polishing cloth. This side has a little bit of polishing compound in it. So you rub it with this side first and really get a nice luster coming up on it. Look at that. That is coming out really beautiful. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Lisa's wedding ring. Handmade by yours truly, with lots of love. You know what? This is probably the most awesome thing I think I have ever made. Pretty. Alright, well, while you're watching this, we're getting married, because today's the big day. Wow, pretty awesome, huh? Who would have thought that when I started doing this Hack-A-Week stuff, and then I decided to go to Maker Faire in 2011, that I would meet such a wonderful woman and end up getting married and making her ring right here on Hack-A-Week. I didn't expect that to happen. I don't think she did either. I'll bet you didn't either. Anyway, here we are, and we're getting married today. And this is the ring that's going on her finger. So that's about it for this episode. I love you, Lisa. Till next time. And so that's what we'll have. But of course, what you see in wax here now will be in gold. And I wish the autofocus would kick in there. Yeah.